Welcome to the podcast, Appetite for Distortion, episode number 272. This is a long awaited sequel since episode 85. Hey, Roy Orbison Jr., how are you?
I'm good. Hey, Brando. Hey, Guns N' Roses fans.
It's so, I can't believe how I was like, whenever I think I hear a Roy Orbison song on the radio now, just after our long conversation, and it was, I don't know, it was like more than an interview. Wow, I almost broke into a Boston song. More than
Yeah.
an interview. Because I don't know, we kind of connected and you were really nice. And, every now and then we'll chat on Twitter. And just for you, you randomly texted me, like, I need to come back on. And
Yeah.
I guess I know how busy you are. And I try not to be that guy to constantly ask people back. And it just meant the world. So thank you for wanting to be back on the show. And thanks for giving me your time.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, I wanted a chance at redemption somewhat. And I got all fired up because Guns N' Roses announced the tour in the past month. And so I'm going through a big Guns N' Roses fan stage again. And I got my tickets. So I think that's what it was. I phoned you the day I got my tickets. I'm
Yeah.
going to the LA show, August 19th, 2021. I mean, it's coming up. It's 2 months away. I'm going to be seeing them. So I am fired up.
You got to be our on the field reporter for that to let us know.
I will. I'll take some pictures and stuff.
Cool. Because I got my layover tickets, I guess, that were the canceled, rescheduled tickets for New Jersey.
Yeah.
I'm going to take a day trip. I'm going to stay the night in Pennsylvania. I'm going to go. I would love to go out west. It's just one of these, one of these years it'll happen. It'll happen because I would love to go to a show with you. That's what you said. Like, I would
Yeah,
love
we're
to go
gonna
to.
do it.
Yeah.
We're gonna do it. Yeah, Guns N' Roses is one of those bands that I've said before that I would just follow them around. I just rent a camper and go see a lot of shows, and I love seeing two shows in a row, 2 nights in a row. But and I thought I would do that, and I've been telling myself for years, when they do it, when they come back, I'm gonna do it, and then I just didn't. So this one, I may drive to San Diego or San Francisco for a show, or Las Vegas. I would drive, 5-10 hours to go see a show for sure.
That's awesome. That was
Yeah.
one of the things that we bonded on was your passion for music because you're just a regular dude, Roy, but you've obviously experienced a lot in your life because of the junior, and you alluded to it before. You're somebody who gets because of the junior, you get highlighted, by some things that you say that may or may not be controversial, and you're like, I got to clear some things up, and perhaps maybe start some new controversies. So
Yeah.
for those who there was one thing I posted today on social media, which wasn't a controversy. It was just if you want to go back and listen to episode 85, which I apologize for the audio quality. I don't remember it being maybe your phone connection that day was. I mean, you can hear us, but I don't remember. I listened back. I was like, oh man, now I definitely need to do a sequel with Roy. Good audio quality. What is this? But a
Mhm.
great story that hanging out with Bono and Axel, but people they pinpointed when you were talking about the Rolling Stones. So kind of, before we forget, what did you say and what did you really say and what do you want to say?
Well, what I was talking about, one of my favorite topics is just like kind of a family tree of music. So I like to. Yeah, I started that from the beginning when I was like 18. I would go, okay, so who was the first guy to play guitar? And you try to find the blues guys, and you find an earlier guy and an earlier guy, and it goes back, and they all talk about Robert Johnson, and then there's these people, and it's still, something that's really important for my integrity, my sense of integrity, is to know who did what. And I'm kind of a rock and roll detective. So riffs, very important. The history of the guitar riff. I mean, I'd like to write a book, the history of the guitar riff, and just go through it. And so that was the topic that we hit on. And already there's controversy in the word guitar riff, because for some people it's anything on a guitar. You do something and it is technically a riff. But I use other words. If it's an intro or a fade or a tag or a hook, there's other ways guitar can be used, and there's special effects and there's things. So when I talk about guitar riff, I'm not talking about a piano riff or a bass line and that kind of stuff too. So that kind of gets rid of important riffs like Ray Charles, what I'd say. Very important riff and predates most of the guitar riffs and comes up again in all these guitar riffs. I mean, so I can definitely make a connection between Ray Charles, what I'd say, and Sweet Child of Mine. They start with this octave jump. It's boom, 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 and then the Guns N' Roses, the Slash riff, also it starts out with that jump. That's what you're hearing, an octave jump. It's it's a beautiful thing. It's in Somewhere Over the Rainbow, the first two notes, and the Wizard of Oz and stuff. But so I was talking about riffology, and I was just backtracking, and I was saying that there's a lot of riffs that come out of Pretty Woman, and it starts to get controversial almost instantly because I love my dad so much, and I got a big chip on my shoulder, and he was a humble, nice guy, and I'm coming out with something to prove a little bit. So maybe I was asking for it, but what I said was that I said a lot of songs came out of Pretty Woman, and a lot of people learned to write songs from Roy Orbison, and it turns out that those people are John Lennon and Keith Richards, and big names in rock and roll. And so I said the Rolling Stones, before they toured with Roy in 1965, they didn't write any songs. They only had cover songs. And so the headline in one of the rock magazine things was, Roy Orbison says the Rolling Stones wrote no songs, And I saw that and nearly wanted to cry. I was like, oh, Lord, how are they getting this? And, I read it and I thought, am I supposed to be mad at this? This is completely taken out of context. They didn't write before 1965. I mean, everyone learned somewhere. Obviously, the reason I was talking about it is because Mick Jagger and Keith Richards are the best songwriters, in the top groups, especially when you put two together like that. They're unbelievable. So that's what I was proud of. That's what I was talking about. And I was relating it to Sweet Child of Mine and riffs and all this kind of stuff. And boy, they just came out thinking I was bragging. So, which I am to a certain extent. And if it's controversial, that's okay. But it was complete misrepresentation of what I said. And I don't know how they got it. Anyone who listened to it, I mean, I love these guys. I know these guys. They are family and friends. And that's why I talk about them. So I love the Beatles. Literally, I love the families. I love the kids, the grandkids. I get good news all the time. So, I'm just thinking about a phone call just yesterday, and it was there's a new child born in the past week or so in one of the families, and I don't want to get too specific because that's all very real for me. But but anyways, I was just very happy. I was like, oh my gosh, my buddy, I haven't seen him in a while. He's got another kid. So so no, there's no controversy for me, but when I point out where things came from, and when you're talking about Roy Orbison specific, it kind of pushes people a little because they think of this older guy with these slow songs, So when I come out with this, stuff, and I say, oh well, Roy was the first person to play a Marshall stack. Well, there's your controversy for this show. I don't know if I said it last time, but there you go. That's enough to get people going. They're going to start talking about Hendrix, and then no, but Pete Townsend was in his closet playing it at his grandma's house. Da 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 da. And that's where I have to clarify again. Okay, yeah, technically there were other people playing them, but Roy was the first artist to play on stage. He was the first to. Well, he did an international world tour with Marshall stacks, and so he's the first. That's it. Jim Marshall told me that himself. There you go.
I mean, there you go.
When I say it though, you go out and look, and you're going to find no documentation about this. It's not written on Wikipedia. Roy has been written out of the story, So it's very, very interesting. So, but for me, I wear that like a chip. I'm like, oh, Marshall, dude, I got some right here, right now. They're right.
I see it. I see it.
So and I have them. Oh, I should grab this. Watch this. This is impromptu.
Do it. That's it's like live radio. That's the way I want it to be.
Did not plan. But here you go. I'm going to show off a little bit more, folks. Let me pull this thing out.
All right. God. Taking it out of context, that sounds weird.
Here is my silver jubilee.
Ooh.
This is what Slash plays. These kind.
Okay.
I mean, I have to. Am I bragging? I don't know. I'm just stoked. Look at this. Had this forever. It is an amazing amp, and I could just talk about this one amp, this one issue, the whole way through, but yeah, I have quite a few Marshalls and things, but this one, I went through a big Slash phase, and I think it's the most beautiful sound ever. I can hear when I'm listening to solos, and so I can hear when it's there, and I'm like, but I'm out of breath, Karen. It's pretty my wife, I'll be going, you hear that? You hear that? It's that mid-range honk, they call it sometimes, this sound of the amp. And then I was never a big Queen fan, but in doing a little research for
that'll, by the way, that's going to be the new clickbait. Roy Orbison Jr. says I was never a big Queen fan.
Yeah. They take one thing like that, but I was, I'm not
I'm just
saying, yeah,
letting you know that's
I'm
what
a
it's
big
gonna
fan of the
be.
movie. Oh yeah, but I mean, I didn't listen. I never bought an album, So
I know
I,
what you mean. I know what you mean, though.
yeah. Oh, it is, but you got to really watch out. So I was walking through Hard Rock Cafe somewhere in Spain a while ago, not too long ago, and I heard this sound, and it sounded so much like Slash's tone, and I was walking by, and it was Brian May. And I've seen Brian May. I've talked to him about this since this happened. He was at a James Burton festival, James Burton tribute show that I did. We played Pretty Woman with Joe Walsh, and Brian May was back there. And it's a little bit on a new Sammy Hagar show. Sammy Hagar, he's got a TV show, and he did this. He did that show too. But I couldn't believe. So I thought, again, I'm just piecing stuff together just with my own experience. So I heard it, and I was like, oh my God, he's the guy who originated that sound. And again, that'll create controversy. There's people that know this a lot better than me, but I couldn't believe how influential that Brian May sound was. I read about it in guitar magazines, didn't know what they were talking about, and people, and then I heard it, and it was amazingly trebly and spiky and mid-rangey, and I think that's what this amp kind of does. I don't know how Slash, he's got his own thing here. So I don't know how he, but it's coming somewhere from that Brian May tone in my ears.
Yeah, now it's like I'm getting. If you listen to episode 85, now it's like part 2 of Professor Orbison Jr. Because for someone like me, who is just not a musician at all, you really break it down to where I can understand it, and that's why taking you out of context is so much to put in context, because you're giving a history lesson, and there's a reason why you're, it's just like it's like kind of going through an evolution of any sort of animal or creature. It's the evolution of sound, and the specific phrases of what certain sounds should be called or are called. So I get it. I absolutely know what you're talking about. So I guess it's funny. All I can do is just apologize, because I have no control. As much as I tell, and I want Guns N' Roses management to know, I have no control over those headlines.
No.
None. I just do the interviews.
Yeah.
Sometimes, if I ask, which does happen, they'll change at my request, but I don't write this stuff, so I don't know.
I'm fine. It's why we do it anyways. And it just made me more aware that, when I'm talking about Elvis, there's a lot of Elvis fans. When I'm talking about Johnny Cash, and so I'm hitting things that people really care about. And so it actually it's a little bit affirming for me. I don't want them to get really mad at me. I mean, I got a lot of hate mail on royorbisonjr.com that people, you're an idiot. I was like, oh my God. So they just don't even listen to the thing. They just took that and they
Right.
want to dislike something. And so I'm sorry that I'm that thing when I'm really just waving the flag high for the Rolling Stones. I'm the one, that's I also care very much. And so people just really care. And so it's just going to come up over and over. And people now, that's what the internet is kind of about. One person likes something, the other one doesn't. They want to let everyone know.
And that's why we hope, and at least with all the clickbait, they always provide a link to the entire interview. So if anything, just listen to all of it in context. And if you have a problem with Roy, maybe I'll invite you on next time for a friendly debate.
Yeah. And so I thought, well, what else can I say? Can I tell him Ooby Dooby, my dad's song Ooby Dooby, that was covered by Creedence Clearwater Revival on their album Cosmo's Factory. That became a song that nobody knows Ooby Dooby. Everybody knows Hippie Hippie Shake. You wiggle to the left, you wiggle to the right, you do the hippie shake, the hippie hippie shake, the Ooby Dooby, Ooby Dooby. And so those are the same songs. So Hippie Hippie Shake came from Ooby Dooby. Let them run with that. They'll go to town. There's other ones that are really not obvious. You'd have to really get in deep to realize that Crying was rewritten as Quincy Jones' first big #1 hit that he produced. It's My Party and I'll Cry If I Want to. But Crying has a unique song structure, really can't be duplicated without, it's so unique, and it's there in the other one. And you start to hear it a little bit. It's easy for me to hear, but so it's in, Roy does this crying, crying, crying. And there's, it's my party, I'll cry if I want to cry. You would cry too if it happened to you, over you. It's actually fits right there. You're like, oh my God, they didn't kind of change the word too much. Dad goes crying, crying, crying. And they do it's my part now. Cry if I want to, cry if I want to, you would cry too. That whole part I listened. I was learning the song one time from a songbook, and I thought like, oh my God, did my dad lift this song? And I go in and I look at I have to look at copyright dates all the time.
Hmm.
So those things come up. You go, oh, so wait, what was the first big guitar riff? Was it Pretty Woman or Day Tripper? And then you got to go check the dates.
You're putting in the work. Why don't you put
Yeah.
in? I
Yeah.
mean, you're busy. I know, but you
I'm
can write
busy
a
having
book.
fun. I'm busy having fun.
I know. As I was able to see, as millions were able to see, and that's actually. I was thinking about leading off the episode, but I just knew organically we were going to talk about whatever.
Yeah.
So it's the best. So ever since I moved in, because last time we spoke, we when we first met, it was randomly at iHeartRadio Studios in Tribeca. This is
Yeah.
before we interviewed, and it was just very cool that you said you listened to my podcast before I even
Yeah.
knew like you. I was like, whoa, okay. So that was very flattering, and we spoke on the phone because it was hard for us to coordinate for you to come in again. So technically, but technically, the last time I air quote saw you was on TV, and I got to say, I don't watch Bravo TV. That's not my channel, but my fiance loves it. She loves reality shows. It's not all she watches, but yeah, she loves reality shows, and it's not my thing. Maybe back in the day with the Surreal Life or Rock of Love, Flavor of Love, those are kind of fun. So anyway, before you were on it, so I was already like very well aware of Below Deck. So below, and she's like, Below Decks, it's better than most reality shows because they have real jobs. They're working on these yachts, and some of the characters are fun. I actually paid for, because when you were on, that's what I'm alluding to. So when you were on, it was Captain Sandy, right?
Yeah.
So
Deck Mediterranean.
so Below Deck Mediterranean, and I now I'm forgetting his name. The other big name captain who's on that show,
Captain Lee.
Captain Lee. I ended up paying a cameo for my fiance's birthday for from Captain Lee.
Oh
So
yeah.
so because
Good one.
it goes to show you how much I've watched it. Then all of a sudden she's watching Below Deck Mediterranean, and I'm like, Roy, like I know you. She's like, that's Roy Orbison Jr. I'm like, yeah, I've interviewed him, I've met him. He's like the nicest guy, and it was just fun watching you as a guest on that show. So
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we do a lot of things. I do a lot of crazy things. And that one, Bravo, is the #1 network for women between the ages of 16 and 35.
and me
So
now.
yeah, so it hits a lot. It's a big audience. It's international and it's worldwide. And
Yeah.
yeah, we went to Spain, to Mallorca, and did that show with Captain Sandy and this and the crew. Great boat, great location, great place, and we had a great time. And our episodes were season 5, episode 3 and 4. It was called The Italian's Job and Ace of Stewface. Those 2 episodes, look them up, and we're on there. And it's my kids and little Roy 3. He's singing. They go like, "Who is this?" He goes, "That's Papa Roy." Like, what does he do? He goes, "Pretty Woman." He sings a little bit, and yeah, we had a great time, great vacation, and it's a crazy show, big show, and it ended up. Our episodes were the highest rated of the entire franchise, and
Wow.
yeah, and the show ended up, because of COVID, 2020. It ended up being one of the top 10 big. It was up for some kind of award for best reality show of the year. I think it
It
lost.
is done
Yeah,
well. As
yeah,
much as like I'm not a reality person, it's done very well. It's edited very well. Like kudos to those producers. I mean, wow, like behind the scenes people work
yeah.
insanely hard.
And they're very fun, and it is a great show. It was really good. It's really strange to have that many cameras everywhere. You start to get a little bit of like technic phobia because you just think cameras are hidden everywhere, but and they are. They
Have you
are.
had that experience before? At doing any sort of
Nobody's had
reality?
these. Nobody's. I've been on around lots of reality shows. I never signed the papers and I never got on it, but I was around a lot of the Osborne show. I,
Okay.
like I said, I just wouldn't sign the paper, so they couldn't use me, or I would be. So I just stay outside the camera and stuff. I mean, my
Oh,
brother actually filmed some of that. Some of the stuff where Jack is in the garage and stuff. There would be no camera people because they all went home, and so Jack, So I didn't actually film it, but my brother actually filmed some of it. We're actually jumping around behind the camera. And my brother Alex was on this big show with tattoo artist Kat Von D.
Sure.
Remember? So they were gonna. So he was on that show a while, and I think I was on that. And
Oh, you were on was it LA?
White Star, yeah, LA Inc. Yeah, and White Star is a big
Nice.
band of my friend Cisco, and they had their own show, Buzzin'. And I think I was on that and that kind of stuff. But I mean, we did Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous back in the 80s with Robin Leach. Hi, I'm Robin Leach, that whole thing. So yeah, I grew up with it, but nobody's done hardly what we did. I mean, this is extreme. There are 24 hours a day. There's no hiding places, So a normal reality show, even the Kardashians or something, they're turning off the cameras and going home, And so no, not at this one.
That's an active yacht that lives are at stake.
Yeah. It's just amazingly. It's actually very complicated. The show is as complicated as modern sports, like NFL, or if you go to a basketball game, that they have, there's a lot going on when you watch. How they film it? They've got drone things, and they've got control rooms and people everywhere. And this is the same thing, very complicated. But honestly, I'm here to talk about Guns N' Roses. If I wasn't doing Guns N' Roses and someone goes on a 6-minute below deck thing, I was like,
I had to. I was also wondering.
I do like it. I watch the show. I love the show, and I like my favorite reality shows are right now. I like Jack and Ozzy's World Detour.
That is fun.
Watch that one.
See, don't worry, I tie everything together with the 6 degrees of GN'R bacon. There's always a method to the madness.
And I love the Brian Johnson, On the Road with Brian Johnson. It's the AC/DC guy who's also a good buddy of mine, an actual friend.
Oh, nice.
He tried to talk me into getting my class something licensed so I could race cars with him, dude.
So what did you think?
Big into cars. He wanted. I mean, this is how crazy we got. After spending like an evening running around and him playing jokes on people and stuff like that with Brian Johnson. We were an unholy duo at a party, just wrecking the party for everybody, having a great time from top to bottom. Everybody in the room, anyone was fair game for jokes. And so, and then he's going like, yeah, come visit me in where I live. I don't want to say all this kind of stuff, but he said, I have a race car in the back and 4 Formula One race or whatever kind of cars he has, So he actually has a full-size racetrack in his backyard and the cars, and it's like go-karts for him. So he's going like, he tried to talk me into going to get my professional license so I could race these things around the backyard with him. And if I have enough time someday, I will. I'd love to. That's another dream.
So, all right. So here's the segue then. Speaking of which, since you're friends with Brian, it's great that he's back with AC/DC, but what did you think of Axl DC? What did you think of that situation? Did you go see it?
No, I didn't go see it. I didn't get a chance. But when I walked through the room and heard it, it sounded great. And then I stopped. So I've always got a TV on. I'm usually listening to other music. So when I see it and I stop and I'm watching it, and I couldn't believe what a good fit it was. I got excited like everybody. I don't know if you should necessarily call it AC/DC, and I don't know if they did Guns N' Roses songs, but they should do that. That should be the whole mix.
No, it's just AC/DC. Yeah. Fans called it Axl DC. That's what I like to call it.
Axl DC. That's something like that is great because I thought it was great. I thought it was really, really great. I'm all up for that. I'm surprised that stuff hasn't happened a little more, really, with other big bands.
But something else you wanted to mention with Guns N' Roses, I don't want to lose it. Did you have like a Buckethead story? You're like, I want to talk about Buckethead.
Oh no, I just wanted to talk about Buckethead. I'm such a big fan separately. I'm just a big fan, and that song Soothsayer, I try to learn that all the time, and listening to Slash play Paradise City, and when he gets to the end, he turns it up to a level that is just unbelievable. And I would hear that in Buckethead's playing a little, and I could hear that Buckethead had gotten a little of that from Slash, and then he ended up playing in Guns N' Roses, and I had to go try to figure out what they were doing, and it set me on like a 5-year quest of flushing out my knowledge of scales and three note per string patterns, things like that. And I'm just Buckethead is another one. I think of him completely separate in Guns N' Roses, but I would go see that show,
I'm glad I did.
Controversy. I thought like, I got it written down over here. It said like, how many? Where did I write it down? Something. How many shows are there that anybody would want to see anymore? And my wife even said, "Oh, you can't say that. What about all these great people?" Well, yeah, actually, you're right. I would go see Miley Cyrus. I would go see Post Malone and stuff. But scratching all of that, how many bands are there really to pay the ticket and go out in the traffic and go see? And there's just a handful that would really get me like excited. And yeah, the Eagles and AC/DC. But then I started getting a little bit more refined again in my question. I was going, well, how many? Like, oh, okay, Rush. Oh, how many bands are there? Okay, is it just ZZ Top? Maybe it's just ZZ Top left that has like original guys and things. But this Guns N' Roses lineup, I mean, it got me crazy. I'm going. I mean, I got my tickets almost immediately. So I got 13th row dead center. Cannot wait to see them up that close.
Lucky you.
Again. I mean, that close in a pretty big place here in LA that night. And I got my tickets, pretty good. I know by the night of the show, people are going to be offering ridiculous money for those tickets. But we're going to see Guns N' Roses and, Led Zeppelin. They should have done it a while ago. But so it really leaves Guns N' Roses maybe the top of the list that I would want to see.
Well, since you are seeing Guns N' Roses, also means you're going to be seeing Wolfgang Van Halen.
Oh yeah, and I'm rooting for him very big.
Have you listened to any of his stuff yet?
I haven't heard that. I heard when he was on tour, and I mean, I think I've heard a little bit, and it was good, but I haven't gone and listened to it, and I haven't listened to the new album. It was just released 3-4 days ago.
Yeah, it just came out.
My story there is we were having a beach party. We were making too much noise. There's a little spot that you see them film there a lot. There's a rock. And there was a little spot at the beach, and we were all there and making too much noise. And someone comes out and yells at us, "Get out of the," to kick us off of the beach. And even though like I'm a Malibu local and we go everywhere, and people, it was Eddie Van Halen kicking us. We were partying right, bonfire and everything right in front of his house, and he was really annoyed and kicked us all off the beach. And I remember just being embarrassed and being like, oh, I mean, I just want to get out of there. I remember being embarrassed, thinking like, oh, I mean, what if he knew that like Roy Orbison and Pretty Woman and the whole thing, I was embarrassed. So it's one of the maybe 10 times I've been embarrassed and didn't let anyone know anything about who I was or anything. We got at it, I just left. But that was my Eddie Van Halen story, was that. And yeah, there you go. So I've got little stories like that about nearly anybody. But Wolf, he's obviously a great musician, and I can't wait to hear it. And I'm just almost a little proud that Guns N' Roses chose to do that. They know what they're doing, because the Grammys didn't do much for Eddie Van Halen and that kind of stuff. And so I think they must have gotten mad at that. Guns N' Roses decided, well, we'll fix that. So I can't wait to see it. I'm definitely going early to see that show.
It made me excited, and one of the band members it goes by Mammoth WV, right, and is Frank Sidoris, who's also in Slash's band. So I love that connection, and you got if you're wondering if Slash is who brought it in, and I believe I saw it because of Greg Renoff, who's written a couple of Van Halen books. He retweeted a certain article, a certain interview that Wolfie just did, saying that he's been friends with Duff and Slash for a while, and knowing just the fact that Axl signed off on it just meant like the world to him, because obviously Axl has to sign off on it.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was imagining behind the scenes, was just made me feel more about my great heroes, Axl, Slash, the band, just how cool they really are. Yeah, they really are the real thing. So so that was all. I'm sure it's a good choice. I've liked all the bands that I've seen opening for Guns N' Roses. I was trying to think of how many times I've seen them, and I saw Guns N' Roses with Metallica around the time that James Hetfield got hit by a flame.
The pyro
arm, yeah. So he didn't have an arm, and I've gone through so much. I said, "Am I imagining this? What if I say this on the podcast?" And I didn't. And there wasn't a Metallica Guns N' Roses show, but I remember it. I mean, I remember thinking Guns N' Roses, because James Hetfield wasn't playing guitar. Guns N' Roses, I mean, they were really good. I don't want to say anything bad, but they killed it. They won that little battle that night.
I forget if I asked after you met, we're hanging out with Bono, and he invited you over, and this was at the Coliseum once when.
Yeah, it was behind the Coliseum.
Yeah, and then you were just, hanging out with that table with Axl, just drinking, hanging out. And when you were in your early 20s, I think this happened.
Yeah.
I forgot if I asked if did you try to reconnect with Axel after the fact and just saying, hey, do you remember that night we all hung out at 2 in the morning and you left me in the parking lot?
Yeah, well, that was a great show, and yeah, you found a picture of it. It is that picture. I saw it. And it was really strange, you know.
You describe it differently though. That's the thing. I was hesitant to post it. The way you described it was not that picture because I think those pictures I posted in that video is from the Freddie Mercury tribute. So I don't
It
want to.
really could be, but it's very strange because Axel is on the right and sitting down, and Bono's standing up. And no, but when I saw the pictures that you said, it looks very much like it. And it's the right time period. But Axel didn't have on a shirt, and I just remember he was really, really sharp. When I saw him, he was almost like they must have done that November Rain video because his hair was perfect and all this stuff. And I think I thought the bandana was blue or something. But
Right.
even Jane Seymour was dressed about like that. And when I looked at it, I thought like, well, isn't she wearing black in that video? Is she's wearing this black dress at that time period? But so she was dressed about like, about like some of the pictures that I saw that were linked to that one. So I don't know. You're getting close to it. Someone must have a picture of me there in the middle. But I also remember every time the cameras came, I respectfully got up and stepped back. You know, obviously they didn't want me and these two guys. It was a historic meeting for them. Do I know? So I'm answering your question. Let me see. I don't go looking for people that way. I just respect, and they're
Sure.
just so far up. No, I'm shy and not going to bother anybody. So no, like Brian Johnson invited me down to do that thing, and if I want to get in touch with him, I can ask a friend. I know people. We have mutual friends, and but no, I would never bother Axel, and I didn't bother him then either.
That's true. You said that you didn't. You were kind of like
I
ignoring
kind of
him.
ignored him out of
Yeah.
respect. I didn't fawn on. I didn't even like kind of look his direction. I was there. I was happy to be at the table. The table was supermodels and these guys, and Bono had played a song, dedicated a song in front of 120,000 people to me. So I was stoked. I mean, I was as stoked as could be, and I went back to thank him. And it was emotional. The first time I met him again without my dad there, and all this kind of stuff. So no, I left him alone, but it did prompt an interesting response from Axel that I still ponder whenever I think about this, and that is that he was a little bit like a kid. I think I got a little bit of the real guy there, even behind who he is as the greatest singer and things like that. He was. So I got a little bit of the casual thing of like how he might just butt into a conversation at a bar to talk to the person next to him, because he kind of joined in on the conversation, and then treated me great the whole night. I mean, the first line was just he just went like, "You sure look like you're happy." He said something like that, and I didn't even know what he was kind of talking about. And so I just said, yeah, my great friend Bono, I haven't seen him in so long, da 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 da. He said, oh, but sit down, da da da. He said he pulled out the chair for me, and I'm sitting down, and so the picture though that you showed was the right arrangement. It was a circular table, and he was on Axel was on the right, Bono was on the left, and that's where I think
Right. So I listened back. I was like,
I
are
think
these the pictures? But the way you describe it is
it's the
different.
right time period too. It really is.
I think it is too. But it's,
But the fact that Axel didn't have a shirt made it seem like he was the performer at that
right.
show. I don't know. But it's the right time period, anyways. Brought back memories, and I'm looking around for the pictures. We'll find them. But it was a great night, and I don't know how I sat in between them too. That was the other thing, and we were there for a long time, like 6 hours, and
And never because you mentioned you're a Malibu local, and
yeah.
it's public knowledge that Axel has a Malibu estate. You never run into him walking your dog or
No,
anything.
he doesn't come out in Malibu very much at all. I mean, I don't know how much I should talk about what little I can surmise of his real life, but I think other people are driving him, and we probably pass on the road, and you'd never know it. But he lives up on the canyons. It's a really scary canyon. I have my best friend, a great guitarist from a band called Backbone '69. He died on that canyon, like Thelma and Louise.
Oh,
Launched. His car launched through the air like that movie, and so he died right
sorry.
as the band was starting to make it. My brother was a drummer for that band, and I mean, and so no, he lives so far up there, and I've thought about like looking. I'm enough of a fan as I'm driving by it casually to go see someone else. Anyways, I go like, well, let's figure out where he lives. Let's look for look for a gate or a guard or something. But I can still always swing this into something kind of interesting that maybe you would never have any idea about. And so when my brother was a drummer in that band, and so when Chris died, our other friends who own this company, Chrome Hearts, Richard and Lori of Chrome Hearts, they have Chrome Hearts and they do all this great leather and silver and stuff. They felt sorry for my little brother, and they wanted to put him in a band. So so the band was Steve Jones and Duff McKagan. And I only thought about this in the last 20, I thought, like, if I was going to talk about Duff, what do I say about Duff? Say, wait, didn't Alex do a tour with Duff? So Alex Orbison was a drummer in a band with Duff McKagan and Jeff. So that's pretty close. My brother
with the Neurotic Outsiders?
I don't know what they were called, but it was Jessie Joe Stark, the daughter of the Chrome Hearts, who's a kind of an artist today too. She did a tour, a Chrome Hearts kind of tour. So no, this would be private little shows, like fashion show kind of thing. But still, they went and asked some of their buddies to do it, and they asked Alex to be the drummer, Steve Jones of the Sex Pistols, who does this Jonesy's Jukebox out here in LA, and Duff McKagan. And they did it. They played at the Viper Room and stuff like that.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so Duff, and then that connection is kind of still there, and the daughters are now Duff McKagan's daughter is friends with Jessie Joe, and they're around here in Malibu. I see them around down at the coffee shop and stuff. And so that was my Duff. I don't have a lot of stuff, but Alex knows Duff pretty well. They drink coffee and read the newspaper in the morning and stuff on this tour that Alex did. So Alex got to know him, and Alex says he's a genius businessman. That
he invested in what, Starbucks and Microsoft, but like we're early on.
No, but that he's really into it. That, I mean, maybe that's pulling the curtain away too on this great rock star guy. That no, he's really.
He has a degree, I think.
Yeah, he's really into it. He's reading textbooks and checking day-to-day prices of things, and
smart family. I believe Susan, his wife, who I've been fortunate to have on the show a couple times, she's taking Harvard classes right now online.
Yeah.
Harvard, she doesn't need to at her success, but sure, why not? Let's go to Harvard.
So he's a really special guy too, and I haven't actually read his autobiography, but I'm going to get to that next. Right now, I'm reading the Mick Wall book, the Giants book, Last of the Giants.
Okay, all right, it's controversial.
It is. Well, I read the other one and I liked it on Led Zeppelin. I thought it was really good, and I thought this was probably really good. What you know more than me? What's controversial?
Well, I mean, if you're familiar with the Guns N' Roses song "Get in the Ring," when Axl says, Mick Wall, Kerrang, and so just.
Okay, wait, no, I remember. No,
wait, that's the Mick Wall who he may or may not get things correct.
Oh, I didn't know that, but I remember that name. No, I remember it was the Junior or something. The Junior.
Bob Guccione Jr.
Yeah, okay, that was the name that I was kind of mad at from that song. I was like, okay. Who is this guy?
And I've had him on the show too. Bob Guccione Jr. It was great. He was funny. He takes it all in stride. But Mick Wall blocked me on Twitter for some reason.
Wow.
I think it's because maybe I'm friendly with Doug Goldstein, and Doug is pissed because he's like, I gave Mick hours and hours of my time, and he barely used any of it. So like, I don't know. Mick seems to be a controversial figure. It could be a fun read. It
was pretty great, and he's a good. I think it's really good. I think he did a good job. I was going to ask you the big question of, where is Izzy? And he has a chapter in the book, and I happened to flip through, and I saw it says, "Where is Izzy?" And it was about this girl with a sign at one of the shows.
Sure.
And all this. And he kind of answered the question pretty well, because even me, I was wondering, like, what is it? Obviously, it's a personal choice, and he's such a great guy. He can kind of do whatever he wants to. But I was wondering what his primary motivation was. Is he for not? Was it that he, his sobriety? Maybe it has something to do with that, or maybe it has to do with financial or business and all these things. And kind of he reframes it in the book in a great way. Talking about how it was Izzy that came to L.A. It was Izzy that knew the clubs and places to play, and Izzy was writing the songs, and Izzy knew he figured the business out. So he knew the club owners, and he knew the girls, and he knew the drug dealers, and he knew the guitars, and it was his dangerous image that kind of pushed them through. And so in the book, he's saying that it was that Izzy was really the leader, and so that it's more respect that that it wouldn't be money that would bring, and this is just completely guessing, so I'm sure this is all
Sure.
going to, but it made sense to me. They said, like, no, he loves this band so much, he doesn't want to just be like an equal member or with money. He wants to help choose the set list and talk about the promotional campaigns and the venues they're going to
That
play.
I believe. That I believe.
Like the videos, he wants to work on the videos and the merch, and he wants to be like
A
that.
member. A
And that
member
made
again.
sense. I was going, yeah, no, that
I get
really
that.
made sense more than anything. I was like, oh yeah, it's not about money and this and that or rights and things like that. It's about the real thing. It's about, he loves that band and he wants to come in as a full member, and that's going to cause some problems.
I
But
don't know why. That I don't
choose the
know why.
set list, and I thought, like, man, well, isn't that really what we all want to see?
Yeah.
Those five guys get up on stage again, anywhere, anytime, and all of them choose the set list, and all of them fight about it or whatever they're going to do. And so, yeah, maybe that happens still someday.
It's just there's somewhere in it's interesting, and now I'm just thinking more about I can't help have Doug Goldstein on the brain because I don't know if I told you, I've told my listeners I'm helping work on his autobiography. And
Oh, great.
there's definitely a mix between Alan Niven's point of view, who I love Alan,
Mm-hmm.
and Doug's, and I think Izzy, who still I believe is friendly with Alan, and Doug, who he likes Izzy, but Izzy is an Alan guy. There's something there's a lot to be cleared up, I think, in those early days. But I absolutely believe what you're saying right now, that it's not so much about the loot. Now it's just about an equal, just let's be a band again.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I can speculate as to maybe why. Maybe it's the people around Axel making decisions. I guess. And then people can think about, oh well, why don't Duff and Slash say something? So so then we have no band again. So I mean, it's just it's working for what it is right now.
Mhm.
It's going to be interesting because I don't know if you've heard like how often you listen to the radio or watch TV now, but they're having commercials for these Guns N' Roses shows, and they say like an all new show. Well, there has been a complaint within the fan base that it's been very similar with the set list, yes, songs here and there. How do you advertise an all new show without new music or new members, different members, people joining? It's going to be other than Wolfgang Van Halen, which I'm excited for. So it's going to be interesting.
But
It really
that
is.
is quite deep in there. I'm actually not that. I don't get that nitpicky, that many specific. Like they can do almost anything. He can wear a different bandana, and it's a new show for me. And
That's
it's
just the fan base I deal with. I don't know what to tell you.
it is, and I'm happy to be in talking to you guys. Thank you. I'm a big fan of these kind of fans. I mean, these are the people that I get
Was it
along.
like that with Roy Orbison? Was it like, oh, he's not wearing the right black frames tonight?
No, but other people would tell me, that in a place like England, Great Britain, they would say, your dad's your dad's fans are the most loyal and the most crazy, only second to Elvis. And I heard that my whole life, and it's kind of true. So even in that area in Great Britain, still, it's very, very holy ground. So you got to be careful. You got to be careful. Yeah. So but the fans, no, they were just crazy, crazy fans and crazy things that happened. What was your question? Like, is it that way with them? Oh yes, they, that, yes, yes.
That's what I'm trying to understand. Like his fan base is obviously, because I have tunnel vision
Yeah.
with Guns N' Roses fans a little bit, and I'm sure BTS fans and Swifties are crazy as well. But how are fan bases
Yeah.
around your dad's time?
Um, well, they were great. They were nice people, but and they are. But there was, there was people that didn't like Sun Records, and if you bring up the rock and roll thing, they're almost offended. And then the rockers didn't want to listen to the slow songs,
Hmm.
and but mostly. But it wouldn't be issues like that so much. They were bigger things, like big issues on this, my dad still doesn't have a tombstone, and among our fans, that is the controversy. That is the thing. That is the thing.
I didn't know that.
So there, it's too long for this podcast.
Fair enough.
But when I was a kid, they stole Elvis' body, and were driving around, and that affected my family, and affected me, and it was a phobia of mine, and it affected me. Oh, just like when John Lennon was shot, I for the next 5 years would hide backstage and scan the audience for someone like maybe with a gun. I felt like I was his bodyguard when he had bodyguards, and I thought I was the bodyguard. So things like that. And so this one affected there, and then we didn't know what to write, and we wanted to be able to go to the gravesite by ourselves and things, and then we became too big. My mom had an emotional thing; she didn't want to end it, and then now we designed and paid for this big block of stone, and I think it fell and broke, and so we're gonna do it. It'll be in the press. We're gonna get someone back and do tombstone there, but so that kind of thing, really, so there's fans of the Orbison guys.
They find we find our stuff.
Yeah, no, I get letters. I get letters once a week, of new fans, cursing me out about the tombstone, about the tombstone, like, and writing personal long letters to me.
Awful. That's awful. You're whatever. I don't need to tell you. That's
no, but so
shame on them. Shame on them.
But no, we had the real fans. I mean, Roy had to try, a lot of the things that the bands do, he created again. So everything from the touring routes to aluminum foil on the windows, or, he would just all the secret codes and secret knocks and guards at the elevator, and he would book the whole hotel. And yeah, he couldn't go anywhere. There weren't that many stars in the early days. So it was very different, So if Roy walked into a busy airport, the entire airport would just stop.
True.
Stop, the people working there, everybody would just stop. So it was definitely crazy all the time. I mean, we'd get back to the hotel room, and there would be, teenage girls naked in the bed already by the time, and he'd be walking in with his wife and kids, and they were there. That was pretty regular. And occasionally it would be big celebrities. I mean, some I can't even mention, but so we'd come in, and there was like naked big celebrity in the room.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
Well, so if you want to write a book about riffs, or you can write a book about that, whatever you want to do. It's your life, Roy.
My wife, she said, make sure you tell them that I'm friends with Izzy's wife. Maybe it's his ex-wife. He married a Swedish woman, and my wife is Swedish, and they know each other. And I was saying, I forget that. I said, you should phone this. What is Miss Stradlin doing? Let's
interview her.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Oh, yeah. If she's anything like him, though, they do what they want. And isn't he still just the coolest guy for all that? Isn't it just cool? Who could do what he does? I haven't seen a picture of him. I guess you guys are I don't know anything about what Izzy has done.
I respect all of it, and I understand, even with Axl and the house in the hills, and the things that you experienced as a child, and why I'm glad that I look at myself as a nobody, even though I get to talk to cool people like you. The bigger you are, just the more people want a part of you. And it's a lot of nefarious people. They're not all your friends. And that's scary. That happens in a non-famous life. So I understand it. And, I'm never going to, I never try to take it too personally when I get a no or I can't get somebody. But, everything I've heard about, I know I've interviewed people who do speak to Izzy. Yeah. And, I respect the guy.
Did they say he's happy?
Sounds like he's happy. He's playing guitar, surfing, it seems like he's riding motorcycles. Yeah.
Well, it's like the Beatles or some band where it's hard to pick the best guy or your favorite guy. I go around in big circles, and
to me, there's always a
Slash. I'm a guitarist, so it's Slash and Slash has had the most interesting solo career for me, but even the way that Axl kind of found Buckethead, so that's over on the Slash area, and that's over on the Axl area. Over on the Slash area, it's just an interesting thing that the band Creed formed with Miles Kennedy, and
right,
this other band, and the Alter Bridge, and then they got to, and I was a big fan of that. I mean, I was such a big fan of Slash with the Conspirators, the guys that he's with now. That I was so worried that I thought, like, maybe this is going to sound bad, but I was worried that Guns N' Roses would stomp on that, that their momentum, their touring, their
sure.
And then Slash raised himself up to an even higher level, more great, whatever I'm trying to say, compliments, more great compliments for Slash. He is a workaholic. The guy, I don't know how he does it. So he tours on his off days with this other band, and he's doing Guns N' Roses, working and writing music simultaneously while he still has a life and kids and going to his kids' graduations and married and doing business. And, so I can't believe that someone who works so hard, nonstop guitarist all his life, and then is in two big bands right now, so I think there's music either just came out, there's music coming out from both of these now.
Yeah,
Like,
Slash and Miles are working on a new record. That's
yeah,
something that should be said. That's a point I never really thought about. When GNR came back, the three main, however you want to phrase it, to the GNR nerds, however we want to phrase it. But it could have easily wiped away Slash with Miles Kennedy, or Duff with his solo record, and
yeah,
they both were. And Slash obviously continues to be successful solo. So it's just it's kudos to them
yeah,
about it.
yeah,
Hold on. I'm gonna since you did this impromptu, I'm gonna
yeah.
do this impromptu. Hey, fiance, I'm zooming with Roy Orbison Jr. We already spoke about Real World Aquatic.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm just coming home now. I just want to let you.
All right. I look forward to seeing you.
Okay, can't wait.
All
Love
right.
you.
Love you too. Bye.
Good, bye-bye.
Now, was something else I forgot to say. I used to call, I'd make
Every
fun of
show.
her. I would call, Below Deck, the Real World Aquatic.
Yeah, more or less. But Slash and Miles Kennedy, I was still on that they were the best band going at the time, and I just couldn't believe, what a great fit, and the songs and everything. And so I just didn't want. It seemed like Slash really finally was where he needed to be again, after a lot of struggles through the whole time since Guns N' Roses.
Yeah.
And it seemed like he finally found that music that was so good that he could be happy and proud and everything. And so I'm really glad that we get both now. We get both Guns N' Roses and the Miles Kennedy thing.
And I just hope there's new music from both. I mean,
Yeah, you know better than me, but they say they're writing music for next Guns N' Roses. And
yeah, I mean, Susan Holmes, Duff's wife, has said on the show that she's heard it. It's just a matter of as I end every episode, which you'll hear shortly. Axel once said about Chinese democracy, "Soon is the word."
yeah,
And that just I think he said that 6
no, but
years before it
but
came
they're
out.
all in a good place. When you look at where they were with that whole period and where Slash was too, just kind of like, dealing with a lot of stuff, whatever his
Great
personal
story.
road. Yeah, they both really kind of lost. And then both they're so prone now. Oh no, there's going to be another album for sure. This is going to be good. And just like, how will it compare? And they have to compete with themselves. Oh Lord.
Oh, so
Oh
much
Lord.
more podcasting to do, and more times for you to come on and talk with me about it.
Yeah. And let me think, is there some stuff? I don't know. I was wanting to talk about Knocking on Heaven's Door and lead into Bob Dylan and how much I love Bob Dylan and how much I mean, right now, my favorite song by Guns N' Roses is Knocking on Heaven's Door. And my son likes it. And, I just, and again, that is that Silver Jubilee tone. That's that tone that the note almost splits, it whistles a little. And that solo, when he hits that's that Silver Jubilee Marshall amp that gets that sound. And anyways, I don't know. Let me think. I got my ticket for the show.
One so far.
Yeah, I went and checked out who the lineup for the new show is, and wanted to see all the, I don't know that much about the new girl, Melissa, but I knew, Dizzy Reed's still there and Richard Fortus now.
Yep.
When I went and checked again, it said like the longest member of Guns N' Roses besides Axl.
Sure. When was the last time you saw them prior to coming up?
Let me think. So when I think of them, I think of the show with the Rolling Stones where I went 2 nights in a row, and the one where he fell off the stage in the first 10 minutes and then they nearly broke up.
But you hadn't seen any of the Not in This Lifetime tour?
No. But see, and then I saw them with Guns N' Roses, and I saw them. I think Nirvana opened for them one time.
I don't think that happened.
There wasn't that. Well, there were 3 bands that I saw one time that was one of the greatest shows, and I put Guns N' Roses in there. But it was Red Hot Chili Peppers, Nirvana, and somebody else great. And so that, okay, good. Then it wasn't them, but trying to think of the times I've seen them. No, I experienced them through DVDs. So I bought all the DVDs and I still just watch those over.
Okay, so it's been a while because it's been the same. It's been the lineup for a bit, but it's been more than a bit for you to experience.
Yeah, no, I haven't seen. I mean, Guns N' Roses hasn't really existed in that form for me in all these years.
Okay, because
It just did, you know.
reunion,
Yeah.
happened. It's
So
been
I would
around.
see a video, and it would be. I look at it for who's the guitarist and who the drummer, you know. And so I like the Matt Sorum period. That was probably the last period I really paid attention. Then
Okay,
Buckethead was good, and then it was no Buckethead, and then I drifted a little bit, and there was the guitarist Ashba, and I didn't know that he's really good in his own right. He's I can actually see now why they had him, but at the time, you know, I just didn't pay attention for a little while. And I know Bumblefoot was a great guitarist, but I didn't follow so strong. And then I drifted off and was watching Slash the whole time. So Slash, okay, so there, Slash I saw like 2019.
okay,
So
okay,
recently, I saw Slash recently, and so I feel like I've been watching him this whole time.
okay.
But for me, there was no Guns N' Roses for all this time, and then I missed the last tour. I'm not sure why, but it just was too much of a spectacle, and I just missed they were playing somewhere near, and I missed that one show, and I didn't and I almost didn't believe it, you know. I didn't believe it. I didn't believe they were touring. I didn't believe it could be them or something. I don't know. So they were touring, and I was doing other stuff, and I didn't see it. And that's why this time, as soon as they went on sale, I went and bought some tickets. And
Well, before I let you go, what is the others? Is there what are you doing? What is the other stuff that falls under for Orbison Jr.? Like what
oh
do you
gosh,
you know look
well, I
forward
mean,
to, and what projects you doing right
well,
now?
we're doing a big movie. So we're doing the Orbison Bio movie, which still
Really
about 2023,
great.
and it's we have a script and we have a company and we've signed, but we can't talk about it even legally yet. But it's a big one, and we got a great team on that. And
Awesome.
you know, we always do and so we've got a lot of stuff around that we have to do. We did the Royal Philharmonic Orchestra albums since we talked, you and I think I've done that. And we did another one. So it's my family, my brothers Alex and Wesley, and my kids, and all of us. My wife sang on there. So we got a platinum album for that. We play with an orchestra and Roy Orbison's music.
That's
We have a
great.
play. We have the Pretty Woman, the musical that was the #1 musical in the world at the time that COVID hit, and they're reopening that
Right.
in the Netherlands and England, and that's a global thing again. They want to open it in Paris and Tokyo and everywhere, but it's touring around, and it's a big play. I think the play will respawn a remake of the movie eventually, which would be funny.
Hmm.
And you know, one more big hit, it's like another Pretty Woman thing, another $1 billion movie will push Pretty Woman almost to the top again. I mean, Pretty Woman's still the top 10 songs of all time, but
Amazing.
one more big hit like that would actually blast it back up to the #1 song again for a while. So we're doing a museum in Tennessee that I've always been working on, and that went through a lot of different phases because Tennessee had a tornado and a bomber at Christmas and COVID. We were going to open in the middle of COVID, so we've got that kind of stuff. But my one of the things I'm most proud of is Roy 3, my son. He did it's already been a year or two, but he was 3 years old, and he did Rocky Mountain Way with Joe Walsh. And his YouTube has nearly 1 million hits already. It's been 1 year up, and he got 1 million hits, and he's only 5 now. But he did such a great job. You know, he can play the riff, and he sang Rocky Mountain Way with Joe Walsh as best he could. And so for me, it's about the kids and the future, and I'm not sure what else I can talk about or what I shouldn't talk about. But we got lots of projects. I don't really try to sell things too much. We're working on all the time on guitars and
Yeah, you're always doing creative stuff.
yeah.
That's what I dig. And just follow you on Instagram. And just you speaking of Joe Walsh, it's just nice, very lovely picture of you hanging out with Uncle Joe and your family
all the time. And then I mean, just today, just before you got here, and I don't even take a picture. Leah Felder came by the studio about an hour ago, and I was thinking, well, her dad is Don Felder. I should be posting this out too. And she married Brandon Jenner and has a kid, so she's kind of part of the Jenner family of that. Wow. And but she's an artist in her own right, and a beautiful, great lady. And I've known her since she was a teenager. She was just here, so we've always got something going on here. But right now, for me, it's just have a good summer. And this concert, the Eagles are going to play maybe in October in LA. So I got 2 big concerts, and really my life kind of revolves around this. August 19th. I mean, Guns N' Roses.
Wow. Excited.
Yeah, I'll shed a tear. It's gonna be amazing.
I know I'm obviously excited, and Roy, but let's not have it be a couple years before the next time you come on, because I want to talk to you. I want to talk to you more. Good.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. And I hope I didn't say anything too controversial, or I hope I was controversial enough. Looking over my notes, I don't just, I wanted to talk about everybody, everything, but I think we did. We talked a lot about the new guys, and I went and followed all these people like on Instagram. So I went and followed Frank Ferrer. He followed me back. I was stoked. Like 2 days ago, I said, he's following back. And like, the drummer, all right.
Nice.
So cool. Yeah.
He's a local New York guy, New York City guy.
I'm sure.
You know,
Amazing.
yeah, really cool dude. You know, lucky to have him on the podcast as well. And that's cool. See, you're just a fan. You're following everybody like every other fan.
And follow me back sometimes. And that was when I was like, oh yeah, I feel a connection. We're tight now. We're buddies.
He was probably like that. He's like, Roy Orbison Jr. is following me. Awesome.
Well, he's been in so many big bands and bands that were kind of English and following Roy, and kind of did a lot of those weird synth bands, you know, they were big Orbison fans.
True. Well, you know, whether it's before or after you see them, obviously you're welcome back. If you want to, you know, bring on your wife with you, if you want to bring on little Bo with you, if you want to bring on Uncle Joe, Brian, all your friends,
rock star friends. Guns N' Roses, you know, I don't know if I'll get backstage for this, but I've already, you know, someone past 24 hours said like, oh, you know, maybe I'll go with you and I'm pretty good friends with Slash and and I was like, oh Lord. And so, you know, I don't know what kind of backstage scene they have because I haven't seen them, you know, in so long like that. But you know, we'll see how far I get. Rushing backstage.
Looking forward to seeing Roy Orbison, the appetite for distortion.
Getting carried off the stage, rushing the stage, getting carried away in handcuffs. That would be the dream. I got arrested at the Guns N' Roses concert on stage.
Brando made me do it. He told me to do it.
He did. Yeah, peace and love, and you know, God bless Guns N' Roses.
Thanks, Roy. And that does it for this episode of Appetite for Distortion. Thanks for hanging out. When are you going to see the next episode? Who's the next guest? In the words of Axl Rose concerning Chinese democracy, you'll see it. I don't know if soon is the word.